A black woman arrives to board her private jet, only to be humiliated by the pilot who refuses to believe she owns it. What happens when the truth about her identity comes to light? Watch the story unfold and let me know your thoughts in the comments. Dressed in a sleek black jumpsuit and carrying an understated leather bag, Ava Carter, a self-made billionaire, approached her jet. She had built her fortune from the ground up, growing her company into a global empire. But despite her success, Ava had learned to expect skepticism wherever she went. Today, she was hoping for a smooth flight to a business meeting that could secure her next major acquisition. The jet's pristine fuselage gleamed under the morning sun, but something was off. The pilot, an older man named Captain James, stood near the steps, his arms crossed tightly over his chest. His expression hardened as Ava approached, his eyes scanning her up and down with thinly veiled disapproval. "Excuse me," Ava said politely, her voice calm and confident. "I'm Ava Carter. This is my aircraft." Captain James raised an eyebrow, his lips curling into a smirk. "You're mistaken," he said flatly. "This jet belongs to a VIP. I don't think you'd be flying with us today." Ava tilted her head, her patience thinning. "I am the VIP," she replied. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a meeting to catch." But Captain James didn't move. Instead, he stepped in front of her, blocking the stairs. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but we have strict protocols. I can't let you board this aircraft without proper authorization." Ava's heart tightened, but she maintained her composure. "I don't need authorization. My name is on the deed. This jet belongs to me." James gave a dry chuckle, shaking his head. "Look, I don't know how you got past security, but I suggest you call whoever owns this plane and have them sorted out. Until then, you're not getting on board." The tension in the air was palpable. Nearby, staff and passengers began to glance over, their murmurs growing louder. Ava could feel their eyes on her, judgmental and curious. Taking a deep breath, she pulled out her phone and opened the ownership document, showing it to Captain James. "Here's your proof," she said, holding the screen toward him. But instead of apologizing, James barely glanced at it. "Nice try," he sneered. "But anyone can forge a document on a phone. I'll need real proof, like seeing the actual owner." Ava's jaw clenched, her voice turning icy. "I am the owner, and you're dangerously close to losing your job." But Captain James wasn't listening. He stepped back, turning to the ground crew. "Escort her off the tarmac," he barked. Ava's patience snapped. She wasn't going anywhere, not without a fight. The murmurs around Ava grew louder as ground crew hesitated, unsure how to proceed. Ava stood firm, her sharp gaze never leaving Captain James. She could feel the weight of the onlookers' judgments, but she refused to let it show. Before anyone could approach her, she reached into her bag and pulled out a sleek black leather folder. Inside was every document that proved her ownership of the jet, from the deed to the purchase agreement and even maintenance records. She stepped forward, holding the folder out to Captain James. "Here's the real proof you're looking for," she said coldly. "I suggest you take a good look before embarrassing yourself further." Captain James hesitated, his confidence wavering for the first time. He took the folder reluctantly, flipping through the papers. His expression shifted, but instead of admitting his mistake, he doubled down. "These could still be fake," he muttered under his breath. Ava's temper flared. "Fake? Are you seriously accusing me of forging these documents? Do I need to call airport security myself?" The captain's face reddened, but before he could respond, a young flight attendant stepped forward. Her name tag read Chloe, and she looked nervous but determined. "Excuse me, Captain," Chloe said softly. "I've seen Ms. Carter's name on the manifest. She is the owner of this aircraft." James shot her a warning glare. "Stay out of this, Chloe. You don't know what you're talking about." But Chloe didn't back down. She turned to Ava, her voice steady. "Ms. Carter, I apologize for this misunderstanding. If you'd like, I can personally assist you in boarding." Ava gave her a small nod of appreciation but didn't move. She wasn't about to let Captain James off the hook so easily. "You've had plenty of chances to correct yourself," Ava said, her tone cutting through the tension. "But instead, you've chosen to insult me and question my integrity. You don't deserve to fly my jet." At that moment, a man in a sharp suit approached the group. He was David, Ava's personal assistant, who had been parking the car while the confrontation unfolded. He took one look at the scene and immediately stepped in. "What's going on here?" David asked, his voice calm but authoritative. "This man," Ava said, gesturing to Captain James, "refused to let me board my own jet. Even with proof, he's accusing me of being an imposter." David's face hardened. "Is that true?" he asked James, his tone leaving no room for evasion. James stammered, clearly caught off guard. I was just following protocol." "Protocol," David snapped. "Does your protocol include humiliating the owner of the aircraft and refusing to verify legitimate documents? Because if it does, you'll need to find another job. Immediately." The crowd around them grew silent, sensing the gravity of the moment. Ava crossed her arms, watching as Captain James squirmed under David's glare. Chloe stepped forward again, this time addressing Ava. "Ms. Carter, if it's all right with you, I'll ensure your flight is ready to depart on schedule. I deeply apologize for everything that's happened." Ava nodded. "Thank you, Chloe. I appreciate your professionalism." But as Chloe and David moved to resolve the situation, Captain James made one final, desperate attempt to save himself. "Look, I didn't mean to offend anyone," he said, his voice shaky. "But you have to understand, I was only trying to protect the jet from unauthorized access." "Unauthorized?" Ava repeated, her voice icy. "What you were trying to do was protect your own bias, and it just cost you your career." The weight of Ava's words hung in the air as Captain James stood frozen, his defiance crumbling into shame. The crowd around them murmured, some whispering in support of Ava, others shaking their heads at the pilot's arrogance. Ava turned to David, her voice steady but firm. "Make the call. I want this resolved now." David nodded and stepped aside, pulling out his phone. He quickly dialed the executive manager of the private jet company. Meanwhile, Chloe guided Ava toward the waiting area, away from the prying eyes of the crowd. "Ms. Carter," Chloe began hesitantly, "I can't express how sorry I am for what you've been through. It's unacceptable, and I'll personally ensure that your flight is ready without further delays." Ava gave Chloe a small, appreciative smile. "Thank you. You've been the only one here with any professionalism. It doesn't go unnoticed." As David returned, his expression was resolute. "The executive manager will be here in a few minutes. They want to address this in person." True to his word, the manager, a middle-aged man with a polished demeanor, arrived swiftly, flanked by 2 security officers. His expression shifted from calm professionalism to visible discomfort as Ava explained the incident. "This is outrageous," the manager said after hearing her account. He turned to Captain James, his tone cold. "You're relieved of your duties effective immediately. We have no tolerance for this kind of behavior in our company." James paled, trying to stammer out an excuse. "But I thought—" The manager cut him off. "You didn't think. That's the problem. Take responsibility for your actions and leave." Security escorted Captain James away, his protests fading into the distance. The manager then turned back to Ava. "Ms. Carter, on behalf of the company, I extend my sincerest apologies. We will conduct a thorough investigation and ensure incidents like this never happen again. Additionally, I'll personally oversee your next flight to guarantee your comfort." Ava's gaze softened slightly. "I appreciate your response, but this isn't just about me. This is about ensuring no one else faces this kind of treatment, regardless of their status or appearance." The manager nodded solemnly. "You have my word, Miss Carter." As the commotion died down, Ava boarded her jet with Chloe by her side. The interior of the aircraft was a sanctuary of luxury and calm, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. Ava sank into the plush leather seat, taking a deep breath. Chloe lingered for a moment, then spoke. "Miss Carter, if I may, you handled that with incredible grace. It was inspiring to watch." Ava glanced at her, a faint smile playing on her lips. "Thank you, Chloe. But grace wasn't the goal. Change was." The story of Ava Carter's confrontation spread quickly, making headlines across major news outlets. It sparked a larger conversation about implicit bias and discrimination in professional settings, leading to new policies and training programs within the aviation industry. Captain James's dismissal served as a cautionary tale, while Chloe's bravery in standing up for Ava earned her a promotion within the company. As for Ava, she continued to use her platform and influence to advocate for equality, proving that one moment of injustice could lead to meaningful change.